the pop, the drops, and the riffs. That define a decade. A channel with non-stop pop anthems from the 2010s. The 10 spot, Channel 11, and in the SXM app, included with all trials and popular plans.
To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Series is on SiriusXM. The Houston Astros.
Leadoff homer for Jose Altuve.
The Texas Rangers.
Going to second is Seager. He slides in ahead of the tag.
Hear your hometown announcers on the SiriusXM app before and after every game. MLB Network Radio's experts bring you closer to the action.
Down here on the field.
On-site coverage of the postseason through the last out of the World Series on MLB Network Radio Channel 89.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
They're the founding fathers of thunderous, hard and heavy classic rock, Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Welcome to Ozzy's Boneyard. Hear Ozzy-approved, hard and heavy classic rock on his own channel. Ozzy's Boneyard. To hear Ozzy's Boneyard, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal. Where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you, whether you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now. Along with the rest
of the pop hits that shaped the sound of the new millennium. Let's get it started. SiriusXM's Pop 2K, a non-stop commercial-free flashback to the era of boy bands, telephones, and MP3s. On Channel 10. To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. The Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe for me and people who love the universe, and that would be you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my? Won't you be my? Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! See, I'm trying to bring the neighborhood together, and I'm on this neighborhood watch program. But some people, they don't like it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, sorry, number war. But you can follow Big C Sports no matter what time it is. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. Before I even get there, today I was driving in Dimdare Hills, California, and there was an alert that came over my cell phone. It was a different alert, unlike most alerts that I get on my cell phone, and it kind of surprised me. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me, but in California it said there was an earthquake. It didn't say how big it was. It didn't say on the Richter scale whether it's 2.0, 5.0. It didn't say that, but it told people to hide under buildings and hide and protect yourself. I don't think that's cool. You're scaring people. If you have a 7.0 earthquake on the Richter scale, say that. But if it's 1.0, you don't have to scare people by saying we have an earthquake and people need to take cover. Give taking cover some praise, but only if it's above 5. I don't want to take cover when it's a 1.0 on the Richter scale. Richter scale. Why they call it the Richter scale anyway? You don't have to call it Richter scale. You can call it Big C Sports Podcast on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast. You can also follow Big C Sports on iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, WePod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay. Wow, I love the Podbay. Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast in Public, and one that used to scare me but now it doesn't is there's an earthquake in California. Make sure you take cover. Man, tell me next time if it's 1.0 on the Richter scale. Now, I'm not afraid of the Richter scale. But if it's 5.0 on the Richter scale, then you got to give me some praise. But quit scaring people with a 1.0 on the Richter scale. The Richter scale, that sounds like a medical exam. You got to get on the Richter scale. What's it going to tell me? Why is it so funny, the Richter scale? You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming, OTT, on 4 TV podcast platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of Fire TVs all over the Richter scale. The Richter scale! It wasn't an earthquake, it was just Big C Sports screaming. Saying reparations now! Reparations forever! Now, I know they can announce that we have a Richter scale to let people know to take cover and just take cover. And then people started going to the grocery stores and buying up all the toilet paper because the Richter scale. The Richter scale. I mean, who's afraid of the Richter scale? They need to call it the big Richter scale. That's a praise. Are you afraid of the Richter scale or the big Richter scale? I had my feet in the water today as I was meditating in Dimdare Hills, California. And I was listening to some good old boy. I think it may have been the late Dr. Sebi that said we need to ground ourselves in water because the world is 2/3 water and the body is 2/3 water. So what does that tell you? That the Richter scale, you got to hide things. But I tell you, being in the water, meditating, and doing business, I want to tell you, I really do appreciate that. I want to give out our Veterans Crisis Hotline because every day is like the Richter scale. If you know anybody going through issues, they can really help people. Rumor has it they will stand on their head to give some help. I'm telling you, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on, especially when you're afraid of the Richter scale. Come on, give us a number next time. Next time you gotta give out the Richter scale. That scares people. Just hearing the word Richter scares a lot of people. But what doesn't scare people is I want to thank Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like the Richter scale. Excuse me, that's the wrong script. Just like Genesis 1 verse 3, when God said, let there be light. Man, can you imagine what that would have registered on the Richter scale when the whole universe is saying, let there be light. But then he also said, reparations now, reparations forever. Give reparations some praise. You got to get that done. We got to get it done. I'll tell you, there's so much that we got to get done. What did the late Rodney Dangerfield say? I get no respect. And what did Mick Jagger say? He said, I can't get no satisfaction. We want the real Mick Jagger. Hey, well, you gotta take Big C's Jagger at this time. It's all very low word. Man, I feel great. Oh, Lord have mercy. You know what makes me feel great? I love honoring and giving credit where credit's due. I want to thank the Associated Press because Janie Harr, the Associated Press, wrote an article on Big C Sports Podcast, but it was about reparations. And I'm thinking, it's so close to happening right now, being co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project that's nationwide. And I know there's some inside news that reparations will happen between now and 2024, be either 2023 or 2024. But I know that's going to happen. I'm going to give that some praise. There's a lot of people that are using the law. They're not using chicken dinners. They're not using barbecue dinners. But it's okay to have some collard greens at the celebration. Give collard greens some praise. Collard greens, I love collard greens. In fact, I think my middle name is Collard Green, if that makes sense to you. Big C, Collard Green Curry. Give that some praise. Let me let this strike. She asked me about some reparations. I said, how do you get my number? She said, we have a ways. I said, what made you call? She said, the Richter scale. I know what she said. She said, I heard you speak because I spoke at the Reparations Task Force rally. How did God do that? Because I was speaking and I was just doing what our Jewish brethren have done. They laid out why descendants of Holocaust deserve and are receiving reparations as we are breathing. Are you breathing? Because God's voice is like breathing. Sometimes in prayer, I was talking to Reverend Tony Pierce, the president and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project, and he talked about how does God talk to people? He doesn't speak Swahili. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't speak French. But God speaks the universal language of breathing. Breathe. You ever breathe? God speaks the universal language of breathing, and he was telling me that he has close ties with powers at the White House in Washington, D.C., and that reparation will happen between 2023 and 2024. And I want to give him some praise for his being so lucid and erudite and not shucking and jiving. But I thank Janie Harr because she heard me speak at that press conference, and she wrote the article March 29th, 2023. She asked me, what was my thought on reparations? I said, the same as President Abraham Lincoln. I said, reparations now, reparations forever. Put that on the Richter scale, if that makes sense to you. But I really do appreciate that because there are things that are happening oftentimes behind the scene, and many people don't even know about it. And I just love bringing that up. I know. I heard this morning that were two former NFL Hall of Famers that were arguing about just junk. They should put their time and energy on reparations now, reparations forever. Now, I'm not going to say their names, but they know who they are. And that same energy they're using to get the mainstream media to print black men up against black men, they can use that same mainstream media to say, listen to Big C Sports instead. Because he says what President Abraham Lincoln said about reparations. Just like our Jewish brethren, there's nobody that can argue that we have not been treated fair as a culture in this beautiful country. And we love this country, fought in every single war that it's had. And I love talking about it on Big C Sports. But when I saw how these guys, these two Hall of Fame football players, the mainstream's putting them all in the newspaper to make it seem like, oh, they just can't get along. Why would we give them reparations? And they can't even get along. They can't even get along. And they should spend that time listening to a man that talks about reparations and things that are factual. Whether it's me or anybody else, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. And then I'm telling you, the commercials are done. My commercials are done all pre-roll. Most shows, if they're an hour show, they'll have 3 or 4 pauses, commercials, or they'll run 2 or 3 commercials. Mine go up at the front, and they just keep going and going and going and going. And I love doing that for Big C Sports Podcast because that way you get to hear me scream up front. Get all that screaming out of the way. But I learned that from my grandfather, who was a pastor, and when it was time for the tithe, he made sure that people were. He said, "Wake up!" People like Radio Raheem. People be sleeping. You don't want to rob God. This is time you pay the tithe. He got really loud, but it worked. People got to pull their money out of their wallet. Some people pull it out of their sock. They didn't have bank accounts. But I'm telling you, the stats are provided. The storytelling, the play-by-play. I like going runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall. Hooray! Say hello to my little friends. I love seeing the girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. What is it about hitting deep that men like? Does every man, when he has a bat in his hand, he's trying to hit deep, right field, back to the wall. Hooray! Say hello to my little friends. Why can't we just bunt every now and then? Because nobody pays top dollar, to go to the baseball game to see somebody lay down a bunt. And in Philadelphia, they were hitting the deep ball last night, and they pounded out a 10-0 win over those good old boys from Arizona. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I also upload the show. It goes out to 29 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Dimdale Hills, California. And then I'm telling you, it goes out on 4 TV platforms. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. Oh, there you go again, Curry. Talk about being beautiful and intelligent. Well, that's the truth. And I send it out. And then I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew. Back in the day at Salem Media, that's where it all began. It was the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football was broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It was like the Richter scale because it had never happened before. Normally, they would just broadcast on ESPN, and that's a fact. The manager calls us the Dream Team, and she told me, "God, your voice is sexy." She said that. At the same time, it's the first time in 44 years the station had made budget in the month of January. And because they didn't like that 2, what they call N-words were doing it, they brought in some insurrectionists, and the show went away. They just didn't have the same flavor. You can only take so much. Welcome to the show. This is Joe. This is Dave. And they got rid of it. And that's a fact. But Big C Sports is still going and rising and shining. Go, go, go. That's what I want to do in Big C Sports Podcast. I got so much that I love doing. I want to be factual. I want to make sure I pay homage to what's going to happen. And when it happens, it's like the Richter scale. People are going to pay attention to it. And they're going to start saying, the national media should follow Big C Sports more. And not 2 erstwhile NFL athletes are saying, take my name out your mouth. Really? We shall overcome someday? And we got 2 well-off black men made wealthy by NFL football, and mainstream will use them. I'm sure they said more to each other than, take my name out of your mouth. They've had more conversations than that. But they've been suckered again because the mainstream took something negative and they put it Listen, the NFL saying end racism, but these two young men, they got to wake up. Open your mind a little bit. Why would they take out of the millions of times that you spent time together, playing sports together, and knowing each other, why would the mainstream media print that one paragraph where you're at odds with each other? And then the NFL saying end racism. You don't see the setup? Because where I was growing up, when people had a difference, they dealt with it in-house. They didn't run to the mainstream newspaper. Massa, let me tell you, Massa, I don't like somebody who used to be my teammate. And then the mainstream saying, see, they talk about end racism. They can't even get along. Most people, you deal with that stuff in-house. You don't take it to the newspaper and say, let me tell you how I don't like this other man who looks just like me. They eat that stuff up. They should talk about the positive things that Big C Sports is doing. I got crap that's going on in my life. I don't put it out on the news. I don't put it out there in the airwaves. I got crap happening against me right now as I'm breathing. I don't bring it to the news, to the airwaves, but people know who they are. But you know the mainstream would love to see end racism. And then at the same time, as they take another breath, the two beautiful, intelligent black men said, take my name out of your mouth! And that makes the paper when Big C's been trying to get you reparations. Big C Sports is trying to get you reparations. I know some of you guys are already wealthy. You got millions of dollars in your bank account, but what about all the people you know? What about all the great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers and great-great-grandmothers and great-great-grandfathers that don't have millions of dollars in the bank? You know, there's a lot of people going through a lot of challenges nowadays. And most of them, for the most part, are the same ones that came here on the slave ships. Society never really said we have enough room for all of you guys. So they created the prison industrial complex. So when slaves were freed, they still had the black codes and the pig laws where they could arrest you. And once they arrested you, you lost your rights. And they could incarcerate you to work for pennies on the dollar. And now we have multi-millionaire men not acknowledging that crap happened, but they arguing on the social media. Why? Because you like a hook trying to catch a fish. That fish doesn't know that's not a real worm. It's not a real worm. But it gets hooked. And then they put it in the paper. If you have a difference, why don't you call that man and have a conversation with that man and say, hey, let me talk to you about something that I just want to clear some things with you. We don't have to agree, but I do want to let you know my thoughts on some things. And let's keep it between us as men. But mainstream is so clever. Out of a million conversations they've had for playing football together, mainstream took one paragraph of how they don't like each other, and they put it out there like a fish biting a hook that looks like a worm. They don't talk about all the good things. That's why I'm saying you got to get Big C Sports some praise. I just hope that we can all learn. I want to thank and give. I want to pay homage to the California. While Big C Sports is paying homage to the California Reparations Task Force, mainstream media goes out there and they take two Hall of Fame football players black and they want to air their dirty laundry. I don't like you! And they fell for it like a fish falling for a hook that looks like a worm. I'm trying to get us reparations. Mainstream takes two black men that have a beef with each other. Instead of doing it in private like our grandparents and parents taught us, they want to take it to the mainstream. Massa, let me tell you, Massa, what I don't like about him. They called them Jangos back in the day. Why you got to do that? Just have it out with each other on the phone. You got a cell phone. But that got more attention than giving praise to the National California Reparations Task Force. I want to give them all some praise. I want to thank the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. Attorney focused on reparative justice. I want to thank the vice chair, Dr. Amy C. Brown. He's brilliant. I want to thank the top senator in the United States, Senator Stephen Bradford from California. He's brilliant. He just sponsored Ebony Law, which helps when young black kids go missing. The Amber Alert. It's the ebony alert for black kids, the amber alert for white kids. There are two because one gets more attention from police and law enforcement. I want to thank and this Senator Stephen Bradford did that. He's also trying to pass reparations. And he also helped author the name, image, and likeness NIL that a lot of college kids will eat up. But they don't want to eat up the biggest thing he's trying to do, which is reparations now, reparations forever. I love giving Senator Bradford praise. The man's brilliant, but he's also bold. He's not passive saying, take my name out your mouth. Think about what the media covered the most. If they can cover a beef among black men, especially well-known black men, they'll put that all over the social media. Why don't they put reparations also? There's another beautiful, intelligent black man that's only yelling at himself. That would be me. Wow. But think about it, I also want to give some praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stephey. She's brilliant. Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I want to give him praise. Dr. Cheryl Grills. She's brilliant. I want to give her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I want to give her some praise. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California, Berkeley. He's brilliant. I want to give him praise. And Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I want to give them all praise. The victim still. My aunt there announcing California reparations. I know they did a test for some earthquake, like 1.0 in the Richter scale. They should run that same alert for reparations so people can wake up. All people, no matter what color you are, if you believe in equality and liberty and justice for all, there's no one, unless you're the dumbest person on the planet, that can argue that black Americans have not been treated fair in this country. From 1619 to 1865, and then another 100 years of Jim Crow. Nearly 4 centuries. And then we're still talking about reparations. And it's hard for that to get on the news, but two black men that have a beef with each other, a war of words, that's all over social media. And they don't see that they've been used. Give not being used some praise. Stop letting them use you. I want to thank, this is CNN, the source, Ms. Caitlin Collins. It is weeknights at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I need $6 billion, and I need it now. I'm trying to get some gas. I need $6 billion, PNC Private Bank. I just want to say I need the $6 billion. I really do. They say, why do you need $6 billion, Mr. Curry? I said, have you seen the price of gas? South Ferry level, give me some praise. I feel really good. I want to thank Double O. She sent me this order called Executive Order 13985. And she's part of the chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, and helping to bring reparations to descendants of chattel slavery. It's at an executive level with the White House. And this article, it talks about further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government and the White House. Now, why didn't that make the national news the way two black men having a war of words, former NFL football players, they have a war of words, and they fell for the fake worm in the water. A fisherman takes a fake worm, it looks like a hook, and the fish don't know anything because they don't, they haven't taught fish to read very well. And so the fish says, ooh, I'm going to eat now. And they go up and grab that fake worm, and it has a hook in it. And then the fisherman just reels it in, lets it fight a little bit, reels it again, lets it fight a little bit, and then the fish gets tired of fighting, and it says, well, I guess I'm going to be somebody's dinner tonight. And so those two beautiful, intelligent black men, they fell for that same hook. But you know who didn't fall for that hook? Double O, chairwoman, National Black Wall Street Project, Executive Order 13985. You guys can Google that. And those two beautiful, intelligent black men that are arguing with each other so mainstream can laugh at you and your families and your children. They're laughing at your children. They're laughing at you. Look at Executive Order 13985. Google it. See what that means for black people. And it's signed by a white man. So don't make it about race. It's signed by a white man. and nobody knows about it, but they know about two erstwhile NFL athletes arguing with each other. Why is that? Why won't mainstream do the right thing? They should have written about Big C Sports like the Associated Press did. I also want to thank, this is important, I want to thank Georgetown because they passed over $1 billion of reparations, and they did it in September 2023. As you were breathing and standing up for the kickoff, that's important, people, because it's like the Richter scale. People need to know this so we can fix it. We got to fix it, and I thank Georgetown and the Jesuits for doing that. I also want to have something else that was sent to me by Double O, chairperson of the National Black Wall Street Project. It's from the United Nations. It says strong leadership is crucial. Strong leadership, not weak leadership, but strong leadership is crucial. As we count down to Human Rights Day, it's important. It's crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That article came out September 19, 2023. I gotta say it because it's not making national news yet. It is more important than two erstwhile athletes arguing with each other. An in-depth United Nations report focused on reparatory justice for people of African descent. It was published on September 19th, 2023. That's just right around the corner. A couple weeks ago. In fact, about 30 days ago. How come more people don't know about it? And it talked about reparatory justice for people of African descent. It urges states in the United States to show strong leadership and political will in tackling the lasting consequences of enslavement, the trade in enslaved Africans, and colonialism. The report to the United Nations General Assembly by the United Nations Secretary General. It set out a series of concrete steps for states and the international community to address the continued harm suffered by people of African descent, highlighting the intrinsic link between the legacies of colonialism and enslavement and contemporary forms of systemic racism and racial discrimination, intolerance, and xenophobia faced by people of African descent. And then it talked about the 25 to 30 million Africans that were captured, part of the transatlantic slave trade. But mainstream media, they will tell you about how two black men don't get along while they put in racism on the back of end zones. And see, they gotta know that they're being hoodwinked. They bit that fake worm that had a hook on it. If they were a fish, they'd be in the skillet. And we gotta know not to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Eddie Murphy told us that in Beverly Hills Cop. He said, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. He's the man who wrecked the buffet at the Hera Club this morning. He didn't fall. They shouldn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I want to thank T-Mobile, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast, America's largest 5G network. Isn't that something? And I want them to give me $6 billion in a new cell phone, if that makes sense to you. I want to just get into two more things that are so important, more important than who won the game, and more important than two erstwhile NFL Hall of Famers saying, take my name out of your Richter scale, if that makes sense to you. President Biden studying reparations. Congress is considering the bill as we are breathing. But do you see that? Does that get national news outside of Big C Sports? It should. Should the United States government pay reparations for slavery and its legacy? Yes! Elect me straight. It's in the United States Congress as we are breathing. Are you breathing? The United States Congress, some of the leading voices on the issue of slavery reparations have to ancestral ties in slaveholding. There's so many things that we can get into. I want to make sure I give that praise because Congress is talking about it. Oh, it won't be televised! It won't be televised, but they're talking about it. And smart people know it. Other guys are just trying to have erstwhile arguments about what they did when they played. And that's okay. I want to get into some things that are important to me about my family legacy before I get into some sports. And I got something I want to tell you about that's so important to me. Because you can't make this stuff up. And I want every school district in the United States of America, whether you're pro-reparations or anti-reparations, And for you beautiful, intelligent black men that are arguing over who was a good teammate or not, and mainstream picks it up. It's important to know this stuff. There are states that have passed laws restricting the teaching of racial history. The latest culture war in education is being fought in 2023 over how schools teach racial issues and episodes in United States history that has led to a slew of state legislative measures that limit or ban discussions touching on the sensitive topic of race. How is it sensitive? It wasn't sensitive when they had slavery. It wasn't sensitive when they had the Homestead Act. They gave white people everything. Land, air, water, minerals. What was sensitive about that? Now they say when we talk about how horrific slavery was, that is sensitive to sensitive to who? There's a $14 trillion wealth gap based on your sensitivities. But they say it's sensitive when we talk about how to repair the harm that was done to black Americans. And some extend the prohibition of teaching about sexism. Think about this. Future Ed has identified 47 bills. 47! There's only 50 states in the United States. 47 bills introduced or pre-filed this year in 23 state legislatures that limit teaching on these topics. From Alabama to Arizona, Idaho to Iowa, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and many others have enacted 11 of these bills, signed into law by their Republican governors. And another bill is awaiting signature from Alabama governor. Some of the bills, like Arkansas House Bill 1280, it's called 1218, explicitly precludes the teaching of the New York Times 1619 Project, which frames American history in the context of slavery or racial, what they call critical race theory, including South Carolina House Bill 4325. Others, like West Virginia Senate Bill 558, they prohibit teaching what they call divisive concepts. How is race divisive, but slavery was not divisive? How was slavery accepted for nearly 4 centuries, and now when we talk about how to repair the harm, they say, oh, that's divisive. That's like buying a car tire, and they tell you, thank you for your service, and when you have a flat, you come back to say, I got to have my flat repaired. They say, well, that's divisive. They don't want to teach about it, including racism and sexism and those things that they say they don't want to make white students feel guilty. They don't want to make white students feel guilty. Just have them read about the Homestead Act. Why would they feel guilty? They want to help repair the problem. See, that's an insult to me for white kids. And maybe I'm on the outside looking in, but are they saying, is Congress saying that white people are so screwed up that they don't want to talk about how to repair or harm? When you break your leg, oh, don't go to the hospital because you're going to feel guilty if they talk about how to repair it. When they have an earthquake, oh, don't have an Amber Alert or the earthquake alert, the Richter scale alert, because people might feel guilty if they have to repair a building that fell down. Don't ever call the ambulance if someone's having some problems, because you don't want them to feel guilty about having to go to the hospital to get repaired. How does Congress think that white people are that intellectually vapid, including things like racism and sexism, and those that make students feel guilty because of their race, or those that make a student feel inherently racist because of their race? And 2 Wisconsin bills limit training on racism and sexism for K through 12 and higher educations. I know we get hooked on touchdown and home run and 3-point play, but these things are real. It's more important than who won a game. I want to give some praise to talking about things that are divisive, because we can fix this. You know what's divisive? Last night the Phillies 10, the Arizona nothing. That's divisive. I want to get in a little bit of baseball. what a game that was last night. If you're a Philadelphia Philly fan, because they beat them. This was a game where Arizona was undefeated in the playoffs, but they got smacked around like a pinball machine. I'm telling you, I'll talk about that because it's important. In the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies built a 2-0 NLCS advantage over the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Phillies ran away with a divisive 10-0 blowout. It was the divisive 10-0 blowout win on Tuesday night as Kyle Schwarber, he homered twice. The National League teams are off Wednesday before the series shift to Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona for Game 3 on Thursday afternoon. It's all fair and level war. Now, Houston's the only division winner left standing in the playoffs. The 104-win Braves, the 101-win Orioles, and the 100-win Dodgers, they all sit packing. And think about this, combined to go 1-9 in the playoffs. That's incredible. It's incredible how baseball can change on a pitch. And then tonight we have the ALCS game 3 between the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. And the Rangers, they're up 2-0 in the best-of-7 affair. It returns to Globe Life Field for just the second home game of the 2023 playoffs. Max Scherzer will take the mound tonight in Game 3 for his first appearance in more than a month after suffering a shoulder injury. I want to give Major League Baseball some praise because they played to win the game as they played to win the game all fair and level. Where I want to touch on some things that are going on in the world of college football. I like the power rankings. I was again a little bit disappointed. I didn't hear much about reparations when they're doing baseball. I just didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. But we're going to make it happen because it's going to happen between 2023 and 2024. I'm going to look at college football, Big C's thoughts on college football, and give my thoughts on Big C's top 15 in college football. And again, it's my opinion, and everybody has an opinion. And that's why I think if you want to talk about who the best teams are, you got to just get your thoughts together. Get your stick together and talk about it. I got number 15 in Big C's college football power rankings. What's a Ute? Well, the Utah Utes, those good old boys out of the Pac-12. Next year they're going to be in the Big 12. The Utes started strong, safety, and it's all fair and level war. It ran for 158 yards in an easy win over Cal Berkeley. The last time Utah was a defensive back run for a touchdown was Eric Weddle in 2006. I got Utah number 15 in Big C's NCAA college football power rankings. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got number 14 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Ole Miss Rebels. They're still involved in the jump in the SEC West. They have that crippling loss to Alabama, but still have Texas A&M, Georgia, and Mississippi State ahead of visiting Auburn next. They're probably going to drop at least 2 of those games. I don't see them beating Alabama, and I don't see them beating Georgia. If they're going to win, they got to beat Mississippi State and Texas A&M. That's my story. I'm sticking with the number 13 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Tennessee Volunteers. You know, these are Southern Confederate states, and you would think they'd talk about reparations because they benefited so much. It's a divisive issue, though, according to some people. The Tennessee Volunteers, they are 0-6 under Josh Heupel and scoring 17 points or less. And against the Texas A&M Aggies, the Vols racked up 2 field goals in the final 3:48 to win 2013. I got them as my number 3 team, all fair and level. Where I got number 12 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Oregon State Beavers. The Beavers made the second biggest Pac-12 impression Saturday, and they handled UCLA Bruins. Oregon State just might be the second best team in the Pac-12. Not so fast, my friend, because they got a game coming up against Washington and also Oregon later in the year, if that makes sense to you. I got number 9 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got North Carolina. Miami did not tank after last week's debacle, but it did win. Did not win either. Omarion Hampton, 197 yards rushing, made sure of it. And then Mac Brown and his team, they're playing like that team that won the Rose Bowl back in the day. But that's my story. I'm taking it. Got them at number 11. I got number 10 in Big C's college football power ranking. I got Alabama. Don't look down. That's an elephant. I'm telling you, don't focus on the end game letdown against Arkansas. The Crimson Tide once led 24-6, and kicker Will Richard, he quietly became the SEC's all-time leading scorer. And I think they will talk about reparations. You know, Alabama integrated college football. In the SEC, it was the great late Bear Bryant when USC beat them. Sam Bam Cunningham ran all over those good boys from Alabama, and he said, I got to get me some of them. And he wasn't talking about the shoes. I got Alabama number 10. Number 9 in Big C's college football power rankings. It's a duck. It's a plane. No, it's a super duck. Super duck. Try eating that thing if that makes sense to you. Oregon, my goodness, they played their hearts out against Washington. But the Ducks got inside Washington's 25-3 time and came away with 0 points on those trips. Lanning could have kicked the field goal, but he thought he had to outscore Washington to win. And he was right, but they left 9 points off the board by not kicking those field goals. And they were 0 for 3 on fourth down gambles. 800 gambler, if that makes sense to you. But I got Washington. Washington got the win over Oregon. I got Oregon right now number 9 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got number 8 in Big C's college football power rankings. Is my story. I'm sticking with it. Texas, one of the most low-key hated rivalries in the country. I'm telling you, this week against Houston, it's kind of downplayed, but they're both in Texas. The Orange Blood, for years, have looked down on the noses of the Cougars. If a Longhorn and a Cougar were in a real cage, I don't know which one would win. Probably the Longhorn. Those things are like 1,500 pounds, all spread on the board. But I got Texas at number 8 in Big C's college football power rankings. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Number 7 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Penn State Nittany Lions. Okay, they beat UMass, but Daquan Hardy became the first Penn State player to return 2 punts for a touchdown. He'd never returned a punt in his career. And I'm telling you, Penn State, the Nittany Lions, they are the real deal. I really like the way they play football up in Happy Valley, if that makes sense to you. Hopefully they'll start talking about reparations in the next game. I got number 6 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. You'd be nuts to go against Ohio State. The game gets a lot of hype each year, yet each year Penn State fails to deliver. Will it be different this year? James Franklin has to start with stopping Marvin Harrison Jr., who posted his 4th game of 100-plus yards receiving in his last 5. He's the real deal. Really like him. I got number 5 in Big C's college football power rankings. Is my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to go with the Florida State Seminoles. As good as the Seminoles have been since their 2013 title season, they're 6-0 for the first time since 2015. They've outscored opponents 80-20 in the last 2 games. And 12 straight wins for Florida State has scored at least 30 points. They're a really good football team. I have them number 5 in Big C's college football power rankings. Number 4 in Big C's college football power rankings, I have Oklahoma, the Sooners. They have an old saying in the power rankings: if you don't play, you're subject to movement. In this case, OU dropped behind Michigan, which won this game by combined 226 points in their games, if that makes sense to you. But I got them right now, number 4 in Big C's college football power rankings. Number 3 in Big C's college football power rankings. I'm gonna go with the Washington Huskies. If you saw Michael Penix Jr., his Heisman Trophy moment came when he had 2 pass completions for the game-winning touchdown against Oregon at what a beautiful stadium in Puget Sound, Husky Stadium. A great place to play. And Michael Penix Jr., a Heisman Trophy, is right there. It's close, but I got to see what Caleb Williams does in the bounce-back game against Utah. I still have Caleb Williams as my Heisman Trophy favorite. But Michael Penix Jr., that good boy can play. He hit Rome Oduzzi with a 98 ticks left on the clock to beat Oregon. Penix was on the field for 33 seconds in the last 6 minutes, 33 seconds of that game. And he is so solid, rock solid. He had some injuries in his past, but he put that behind him. I got Washington number 3. This team is as good as a team that Donnie James had that had won the national championship with Mark Brunell and Billy Joe Hobart at quarterback, Bino Bryant in the backfield, and also Napoleon Kaufman, Allsfair, and Levin Moore. And then, I don't forget that big old boy named Steve Entman that they had calling up the line of scrimmage for the Huskies back in the day. And then I got number 2 in Big C's college football power rankings. Number 2 Yeah, number 2. I got the Michigan Wolverines. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. That's what the great Jim Harbaugh says. Michigan, they're better than they were last year. The Wolverines have scored at least 45 points in 3 straight games. That's amazing. And they're dominant. They can pass, they can run, they play defense. You got to give them some praise when you look at Michigan Wolverines in a lot of consideration. I got number 1 in Big C's college football power rankings. It's no surprise. They're the defending 2-time national champion and the Georgia Bulldogs. And there were a time when they were behind in Vanderbilt. The biggest news out of the rout of Vanderbilt is the injury to Brock Bowers, who played high school football in California at Napa High School. He's going to be out of the action for at least a month. They have a bye this week before playing Florida. And Georgia's missing his leading receiver, 41 receptions, 567 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But they're undefeated, and you got to beat them to have them slide down the polls. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. That's Big C's college football power rankings. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I am eating a little bit of crow because I said USC was going to play Georgia for the National Football Championship, and I don't think that's going to happen. They don't like playing defense. Lincoln Riley's good on offense, not good on defense. All fair and Levin Ward. At the same time, I look at so many things that have happened in the world of college football. I spend my time talking about the Big C's power rankings. I would hope that college campus, and I know they will, they're talking about reparations as we speak. It's okay. It's not a divisive issue. How is it a divisive issue if I go into the bank and I steal somebody's money? How's it divisive if the bank wants their money back? They just want to repair. They want to repair what you did. How's it divisive if you wreck the buffet at the Hair Club and they want you to pay for the damages? That's not divisive. They want you to pay it back. What is it about America paying reparations to black Americans called descendants of child slavery? How is that divisive? It is not divisive when we pay descendants of Holocaust survivors. That's not divisive. Why is it divisive when they're trying to get money back for black Americans? How can that be divisive in a just country? It's not divisive if you want to get back what's owed to you. And because Congress is talking about it now. And that's why I appreciate the NFL saying end racism on the back of end zones. I was out riding today and I saw a white kid with a shirt. It said Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, a white kid walking in Denver Hills with a shirt saying Black Lives Matter. And the country tries to make it about black and white. It's about right versus wrong. Because there were some abolitionists who were also white. Abraham Lincoln was white. He has the help of Frederick Douglass to craft the Emancipation Proclamation. If we make it about doing the right thing, Big C Sports, I'm an advocate for women to end domestic violence. I say it on every show. No man, woman, or child should ever have to put up with that garbage. How is that a divisive issue? Oh, we can't talk about ending domestic violence, Big C. That's a divisive issue. He's going upside your head every day, every night. How's that divisive when you call 911? How's that divisive? When the women came out, mostly white women, with the Me Too movement, how was that divisive? That they wanted justice. And they wanted the courts to repair the damage. That was not called divisive. It was called justice. And look at the history. Unless you're the dumbest person on the planet, just read the Kerner Commission. They still have racial covenants in real estate contracts in 2023. It says this land shall not be rented or sold to non-white or Caucasian citizens. If you're the dumbest person on the planet, is that divisive? Is that divisive? And it's still in real estate contracts as we speak. Why would it matter what color someone is if you qualify for the loan? Well, in the United States, it still does. That's why the Department of Real Estate hasn't taken it out. And that's why you go throughout the country, many neighborhoods, they're very segregated. Mostly white or black. There's a few areas where you may have some people who interact together. But for the most part, we're still segregated. We're still a segregated country. That's a fact. It's in the real estate contract. It's called racial covenant. Oh, that's a divisive issue. We don't want to talk about that, Big C. They should change the writing to say you can't buy or rent to white citizens or Caucasian. Then they take it out. It's not divisive. Give not being divisive some praise. Not talking about it as divisive. I want to do the right thing, and that's why I do it. Every show I want to praise. I want to praise my beautiful family on my mother's side, my beautiful grandmother. Great-grandmother called her a mama, a beautiful, loving, kind woman. Always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate her. I want to thank my beautiful great-granddaddy, Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. To fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles, my beautiful grandmother, my dear, beautiful, loving, kind woman, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. She still helps me to this day. And then, at the same time, my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person, a beautiful person, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached All Boys, a Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe in the All-Man's League. I'm telling you, always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. And also, when she started the food program to feed people, that was not considered divisive. It was not considered divisive. It didn't matter what color they were. They were black, white, Hispanic. She fed them all. That's why I love giving my mama praise. Always saying rise and shine. She didn't see what color you were before she fed you food. The best person I ever met in my life. And then on my father's side, my beautiful grandfather called him Albert Curry, former pastor. He had 3 churches and 2 gas stations. And he also owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, with Frederick Douglass helping President Abraham Lincoln craft the Emancipation Proclamation, America's 16th president. 16th! Isn't that something? And he rewarded black soldiers and black Americans who fought for the Union to defeat the KKK and the Southern Confederates. We all know when Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. Was that considered divisive? Because he gave the land back to the Ku Klux Klan. Now the Klan says giving it back is divisive. So there's some congressmen and senators that still are trying to appease the Ku Klux Klan. Oh, they got rid of most of their white sheets. A lot of them wear suit and ties now. Because they say that reparations is a divisive issue. How is that? I really do appreciate my beautiful grandmother working side by side with my granddaddy with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. I was on my way to get something. What she said, well, she touched me on my forehead at 10 o'clock at night. She said, "You're going to get some more cookies, young man?" I said, "What are you doing up at 10 o'clock at night? You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "Are you going to get some more cookies, young man?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations, Grandma." She didn't say that's divisive. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And she let me have one more cookie. You know, kids sometimes tiptoeing down the hallway trying to get some cookies. Last thing you expect is someone putting their hand on your forehead. It was not a divisive issue. Never has been. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure airplanes can fly. So we can all stay safe. He did not get the GI Bill when he came back from serving this country. He didn't get the GI Bill. Was that divisive? White men got it. Did any of those white men say, "We are all brothers. We either all get the GI Bill or none of us get the GI Bill"? They didn't say that. They took whatever the country gave them, as long as they were white. And that's part of that racial covenant and real estate contract. Those white people didn't give it back. Their black soldiers helped them fight in wars and win the wars. You think they stood up as brothers and said, "If the black people can't have it, then we don't want it"? They didn't do that. Oh, there you go again, Curry, talking about race. Why didn't any of those white soldiers say, we don't want the GI Bill if black soldiers can't get it? Was that divisive then? Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward, the best person I ever met in my life. A voracious reader. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. And her daddy was born in Jim Crow. Is that divisive? Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. It was the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. Daisy set up that interview. And then she also helped me set up in college coaches to come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. There was a time when women didn't have rights in this country. Was that divisive? You can be anything you want to be, Daisy. Just Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Unfortunately, when you see, as you grow, things happen in life where you got to realize that black people have been hated. But the original people on the planet were black. 9 series DNA. The black woman is the only woman on the planet Earth that has the same gene that can reproduce every hue of color on the planet. The only one! Is that divisive? That's by God's design. Dr. Leakey, Gregory Mendel, they all opine that life began in the African continent from the womb of a black woman. And black women are the only women on the planet that has the DNA that can reproduce every hue of color on the planet. That's Mendel! Is that divisive? Dr. Leakey was looking for the origin of man. He went to Europe, he didn't stay there long, traced the origin of man back to Africa. Is that divisive? You can be anything you want to be, Daisy. And then I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. As I always tell you, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Malcolm said, I'm telling you, he helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to Google up or to look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, he said, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since. And now on 29 podcast applications and 4 TV platforms. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, it's on 4 TV platforms streaming. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Just like reparations. I'm saying it first because Congress has already considered it as we're breathing. But most of us just want to watch the game. Like we're just dumbed down as a society. Marco Rubio making sure that Congress, and Rick Scott making sure that Congress makes sure that Jewish citizens continue to get their reparations. They need to add black Americans to it. Like it could be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then just keep praying and praying and praying. And Big C, all that work and knowledge over the years. Always saying you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. ESPN nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts, no favorite teleprompter, no producer in my ear. And you know my story. I always tell you, if you're gonna drink, don't drive. If you're gonna drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love drink and drive. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you know what time it is. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because listening to Big C Sports makes me want to vote for reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never evidence good for racism. or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911. Yeah, it may be divisive, but things change when the police show up. The people that say don't call 911 when somebody's whooping your butt, they say that's divisive. Of course, that's what the abuser says. It's divisive. Call 911 and let them repair for you the harm that's been done. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Now we honor President Abraham Lincoln. Will you do it with me? It's not divisive. Reparations now, reparations forever. Say it 2 more times, and I promise you, it's not divisive. It's in Congress as we are breathing. Are you breathing? Reparations now, reparations forever. Say it 1 more time, as if your team just won the championship of the universe. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.